Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible, only to discover you held all the power? The automatic doors of Meridian Trust Bank's Oakwood branch slid open at exactly 9:03 a.m., admitting a stream of early morning sunlight that danced across the polished marble floor. Seated in his wheelchair, 64-year-old Marcus Williams wheeled himself in with a deliberate calm. He wore a charcoal gray blazer over a crisp navy sweater and a simple black cap, brim low. To any casual observer, he looked like just another retiree running errands. But Marcus preferred it that way. He paused in the center of the lobby, letting his eyes drift over the nearly empty waiting area. A handful of clients sat scattered, a young woman scrolling through her phone, a businessman nervously reviewing papers, and a mother gently soothing a fidgety boy. The faint scent of printer toner mingled with the tang of disinfectant, a typical bank morning. Marcus made a slow circle, taking in every detail. The receptionist's nameplate, Victoria Blake, the brochure rack overflowing with loan offers, the security camera discreetly tucked into the ceiling corner. He did not look like someone with clout, and that was precisely his strategy. Finally, he approached the front desk. "Excuse me," Marcus said softly, voice measured. "May I speak with the branch manager, please?" Victoria Blake looked up mid-sip of her coffee, platinum-streaked hair framing her face like a geometric sculpture. She peered over her spectacles and forced a thin smile. "Do you have an appointment?" "No appointment," Marcus replied politely. "But I'd appreciate—" Before he could finish, Victoria cut him off with a dismissive wave. "If you don't have an appointment, I'm afraid Mr. Thompson is booked solid today." Marcus blinked, expression unchanged. He sat back in his chair and folded his hands. "Very well, I can wait." Victoria's lips curved into a smirk. She leaned sideways and whispered just loud enough for the few clients in earshot. "Probably here to complain, or cash someone else's check." She tossed her head back to her computer, as if he didn't exist. Heads turned, including that of a teenage boy perched beside his mother. The air grew heavy with discomfort. Marcus's gaze flicked toward them. No anger, just quiet assessment. "I'll wait," he repeated, voice soft but firm. Just then, a tall man in a crisp shirt and tie emerged from the side hallway. He approached the desk with measured steps, name badge reading Carlos Rivera, Client Services. "Everything okay here?" Carlos asked evenly. Victoria scoffed without looking at him. "I've got this." Carlos's expression hardened. "Ms. Blake, please lower your tone. Thank you." He gave Marcus a respectful nod. Marcus inclined his head in appreciation. Victoria rolled her eyes. "If you two would just sign in, you can see the manager when he's free." Marcus glanced at the clipboard Victoria lunged for, the pen balanced precariously at its edge. He didn't reach for it. Instead, he unbuckled the leather folio strapped across his lap. Papers rustled as he pulled out a neatly folded sheet. Victoria stiffened. "Sir, we don't accept unsolicited paperwork." Before she could finish, a ripple of murmurs rose in the lobby. The young mother exchanged a look with her son. Even the businessman glanced up from his tablet. Victoria, sensing the shift, snapped the sheet aside with manicured fingertips. "Sir," she hissed, "if you're not transacting business—" At that point, Carlos gently stepped around her. "Mind if I see that, Mr. He held out his hand. Marcus slid the paper across the desk. The lobby grew unnaturally silent. Carlos's eyes widened as he scanned the text. This is from corporate headquarters." He turned to Victoria, voice low but urgent. "Get Mr. Thompson, please." Victoria's face drained of color. She jabbed at the phone behind her, muffling her apology as she called down the hall. Marcus watched impassively, scanning the room as Victoria whispered into the receiver. Victoria returned, shoulders hunched. "He'll be out shortly." Marcus inclined his head once to Carlos. "Thank you." He wheeled himself back toward the center of the lobby, resting his hands on the wheels. Clients were no longer pretending not to listen. One older gentleman in a flannel jacket offered a discreet nod. A nurse in scrubs shifted uneasily, but met his gaze. The teenager and his mother leaned forward, curiosity plain in their eyes. Minutes later, the hallway door swung open, and Gregory Thompson, the branch manager, stepped out. He was tall and broad-shouldered, hair beginning to silver at the temples. His tie hung slightly askew, giving him an unspoken air of unguarded authority. He surveyed the scene. Victoria at the desk, Carlos standing guard, Marcus centered in the room. "Mr. Williams?" Gregory asked, tone respectful. Marcus offered a faint smile. "That's right. Gregory, thank you for coming." He gestured toward the desk. Gregory accepted the tri-folded document that Carlos handed him and scanned it swiftly. His jaw tightened. "Let's talk in my office." As Gregory led him away, Victoria's hand trembled on the desktop. No one approached her. The silent disapproval was heavier than any words. Marcus paused in the threshold of the office and looked back. "Ms. Blake," he said quietly, "you spoke as if I were invisible. Do you think that would have happened if you'd known who I was?" Her mouth opened, but no answer came. Marcus wheeled himself into the office, leaving Victoria staring after him, the lingering question echoing in her empty lobby. Gregory closed the door softly behind them, and Marcus rolled forward to take his place opposite the large mahogany desk. The room smelled faintly of polished wood and espresso from the small brewer in the corner. Framed certificates and a tasteful landscape painting lined the walls, classic trappings of respectability. Gregory sank into his leather chair and regarded Marcus with careful neutrality. "Mr. Williams," Gregory began, sliding the document across the desk, "I apologize for my colleague's behavior. I had no idea Victoria would treat you so dismissively." Marcus's expression remained composed. "I appreciate that, Gregory, but this isn't merely about apologies." He paused, folding his hands. "I trust you've read the memorandum." Gregory opened the paper and scanned the header. "Notice of ownership transfer, Meridian Trust Bank, Williams Family Holdings." He looked up, breath catching. "You," Gregory swallowed, "you own this branch." Marcus inclined his head. "I own 100% of Meridian Trust Bank, including every branch in our network. I visit unannounced so I can see the genuine culture, how your staff treats people who don't look like typical high-value clients." His gaze was steady even, but reverberating with significance. Gregory ran a hand through his hair. I had no idea. We believed the Williams family stake was held by a trust, and we rarely heard from you." He closed the folder and set it aside. "Why didn't anyone tell me sooner?" Marcus leaned back. "Because I prefer to remain unseen. I'm not here to cast judgment. I'm here to learn where the gaps are." He paused, letting the silence settle. "Ms. Blake's comments were not an isolated incident. I have multiple reports of her condescending behavior toward clients, and yet her performance metrics were excellent because she prioritizes transactions over human dignity." Gregory nodded slowly. "Her sales numbers are among the highest in the region." He rubbed his temple. "We've overlooked complaints because the complaints were about her attitude, not her numbers." "Exactly," Marcus said quietly. "Numbers matter, only until people feel demeaned. Then numbers become meaningless." Gregory exhaled. "What would you like me to do?" Marcus folded the document and placed it into the in-tray. "I'd like you to relieve Ms. Blake of her duties, effective immediately. I'd also like you to draft a branch-wide memo. Introduce me as the owner making these unannounced visits. Emphasize that respect and empathy are non-negotiable core values, and outline a zero-tolerance policy for condescension." Gregory's posture straightened. "Of course. I'll prepare the termination paperwork and the memo right away." Marcus gave a small nod. "And Gregory, please assemble your staff in the lobby once it's done. I want to address them before I leave." Gregory rose, extending his hand. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention, and thank you for your patience today." Marcus shook his hand firmly. "Thank you for responding with integrity." Gregory hurried out, leaving Marcus alone. He closed his eyes briefly, then guided his wheelchair to the door and back into the hallway. As he exited the office, he caught the curious glance of Judith Emery, the longtime client who had followed him quietly down the corridor. "You handled that brilliantly," Judith whispered as he passed. "I've never seen anyone dismantle a situation so calmly." Marcus offered her a polite smile. "Thank you. Leadership often requires silence more than words." Judith nodded, then slipped back into the lobby. Marcus edged forward and wheeled to the center, where a small cluster of employees had gathered near the reception desk. Eduardo, Terrence, the loans officer, and even the janitor Clarence Duval stood in a rough semicircle, the rest of the staff peering from behind cubicle walls. Their faces were a mixture of relief, curiosity, and uncertainty. Gregory emerged behind them carrying a stack of papers and a freshly printed memo. He laid them on the counter and stepped aside, giving Marcus full view of the group. Marcus cleared his throat softly. "Thank you all for waiting. I want to keep this brief." He paused, allowing his words to settle. "Victoria Blake will no longer serve as your receptionist." A murmur rippled through the group. "This decision is based on her consistent failure to uphold our core value of treating every client as a dignified human being, regardless of their appearance or perceived status." He looked directly at Eduardo. "Thank you for speaking up quietly today. Your professionalism helped turn the tide." Eduardo gave a respectful nod. Marcus then turned to Terrence. "And thank you for capturing the moment. You didn't seek attention. You documented truth. That takes courage." Terrence blinked, surprised to be singled out. I just did what felt right." Marcus inclined his head. "Exactly. You all have moments to choose, to speak up or stand by. Today some hesitated, some acted. I'm not here to punish hesitation. I'm here to reward integrity." He tapped the unpublished memo in Gregory's hand. "I want you to read this. It outlines our renewed commitment. Kindness, respect, empathy. Always in that order." He paused, letting the new policy hang in the air. "I will be visiting other branches unannounced. I expect every one of you to treat each client, regardless of how they look or sound, with the dignity you would afford your own family member." A hush fell. Then Clarence, the janitor, pushed forward, cane in one hand and mop in the other. "Sir, just wanted to say, it means a lot that you came down here yourself. We see plenty of suit and tie visitors, but you," he gestured to the lobby, "you reminded us why we do this job." Marcus looked at Clarence, appreciation in his eyes. "Thank you, Clarence. Remember, leadership isn't titles, it's actions." Clarence nodded, and the entire group seemed to straighten as if physically lifted. Behind them, clients who had lingered, Judith Emery among them, clapped softly. Then other clients joined in. It wasn't a hired stunt or orchestrated performance. It was genuine gratitude for a moment of real accountability. The sound echoed through the lobby, warming the polished hall. Gregory stepped forward to collect the memo and the termination paperwork. He handed Victoria's badge and keys to one of the assistant managers, then turned back. "Ms. Alvarez will take over at the desk. Please welcome her." A young woman in a crisp blouse stepped forward, offering Marcus a shy but sincere smile. Marcus gave a brief nod. "Thank you, Ms. Alvarez. Remember, your role is to represent Meridian's values. Every greeting, every word, every gesture matters." He wheeled toward the exit, Gregory and Clarence flanking him. As they passed the receptionist stand, Ms. Alvarez slipped into position, and the rest of the staff returned to their posts with renewed purpose. Marcus paused just before the doors. He turned to face the room one last time. "A bank is more than financial services," he said. "It's trust, and trust is earned every second you choose respect over indifference." Then, with the quiet dignity that had marked his entire visit, Marcus rolled through the automatic doors into the bright morning sun. Inside, the lobby blossomed into purposeful activity. Customers queued with smiles, staff greeted each by name, and the buzz of genuine service began anew. Outside, Marcus paused at the top of the wheelchair ramp, glanced back at the building, then tipped his cap and moved on. In less than an hour, he had not only ended one woman's career, but ignited a transformation that would resonate through every corner of Meridian Trust. Marcus Williams paused at the top of the wheelchair ramp, the morning sun casting long, golden beams through the glass facade of Meridian Trust Bank. He took a deep breath of the crisp air and wheeled himself forward, letting the gentle slope carry him down. Behind him, the automatic doors whispered shut, echoing the quiet conclusion of an unannounced but unforgettable visit. Inside, the branch had already begun to hum with renewed energy. Ms. Alvarez greeted each arriving client by name, greeting mothers and their children with a warmth that felt genuine rather than rehearsed. Terrence leaned forward from his teller station, ensuring every handshake was firm and every question and met with attentive eyes. Eduardo moved between desks, offering quiet encouragement to colleagues, while Clarence wheeled beside Marcus, his mop momentarily forgotten as he softened into a slow, steady pace. Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down to see a text from Gregory Thompson. "Thank you again, Mr. Williams. I've circulated your memo to all branches, already seeing positive feedback. The corporate office is drafting new training modules. We'll be ready for your next visit." He smiled to himself. Change was contagious. A week later, back in his penthouse office miles away, Marcus stood by the window overlooking the city skyline. He tapped the report Gregory had sent over. Internal metrics, client satisfaction surveys, employee engagement scores, all trending upward. But what mattered most wasn't numbers. It was the stories. He opened an email from Clarence Duval, the janitor at Oakwood Branch. "Mr. Williams, not sure if you remember me. Clarence, the janitor. I just wanted to say thank you. That day I felt proud to work here. I even tipped my hat to a client who'd never noticed me before. It felt good. Thank you for showing us what respect looks like." Marcus paused, thinking of the dignity in Clarence's words. He saved the email to a folder titled Real Impact. The ripple effect. Within days, other branches reported similar transformations. In the downtown district, a teller named Priya Patel began offering complimentary coffee to every client who waited more than 5 minutes, apologizing for the delay with sincere regret rather than rote apology. At the Maple Grove branch, branch manager Allison Chang held a respect roundtable, inviting staff and regular clients to share experiences and suggestions. She even invited Marcus to join via video conference. Clients noticed. One wrote on social media, "Went to Meridian Trust yesterday. Not only did they fix my mortgage rate, but the manager actually remembered my mother's name. Class act." Another post went viral. "My son was born with special needs. Today, the teller at Meridian made sure I didn't have to fill out extra paperwork he couldn't handle. Thank you for the kindness." Marcus watched these posts with quiet satisfaction. He had not sought attention, yet the world was speaking his values back to him. A personal reflection. That weekend, Marcus visited his hometown community center, where he had grown up. He wheeled into the old gymnasium, now repurposed as a senior activities hub. The midday sun filtered through dusty windows, falling on tables of board games and jigsaw puzzles. Community volunteers bustled about, serving coffee and organizing bingo. He paused at the entrance, watching the volunteers greet elders. Smiles, handshakes, respectful bows. He recognized a few faces, people who'd known him before the wealth and the suit. They greeted him not with awe, but with genuine delight. One woman approached in a wheelchair of her own. Her name was Rose Thompson. She'd tutored him in math as a child. She offered a grin that crinkled the corners of her eyes. "Marcus Williams, is that you?" He nodded, smiling. "Rose, it's been too long." They spent an hour reminiscing about old teachers, neighborhood summer carnivals, and the makeshift library in the corner of the church basement. Rose touched his hand lightly. "Your grandmother would be proud, you know. She always said respect is earned by how you treat people when no one else is watching." Marcus's throat tightened. "I wish she could see today." Rose patted his arm. "She does. Every time someone holds a door for you or treats a stranger with kindness, that's her spirit too." He left the community center with his heart full, reminded that wealth and influence were tools, and the truest measure of success lay in using them to uplift others. The ultimate test. 2 weeks later, Marcus returned to Meridian Trust's Oakwood branch, this time with an appointment. He rolled through the doors at 9 a.m. sharp. The lobby looked immaculate. Floors gleamed, plants were thriving, and staff moved with quiet confidence. As he approached the reception desk, Maria Alvarez looked up from her monitor and genuinely lit up. "Mr. Williams, good morning. How can I help you today?" He leaned forward slightly. "Maria, could you direct me to the conference room?" She pointed him down the side hallway with a respectful nod. "Right this way." Beyond the glass doors, the conference room was arranged for a staff town hall. Chairs were neatly spaced, a projector stood ready, and a podium faced the audience. Gregory Thompson and several regional managers sat in the front row. Clients and community members filled the back rows. Marcus wheeled to the podium and paused, letting the eyes of his colleagues settle on him. The hush was palpable. He cleared his throat. I promised myself I would never make speeches for applause, he began, voice steady, but I believe in acknowledgement. Last month, I visited this branch unannounced. I saw you at your best and at your worst. I saw people who froze, people who reacted with grace, and people who uplifted strangers simply because it was right. He paused in scanning the room. I'm back today to celebrate those who chose compassion and to remind everyone that every single day is a test. Every greeting, every interaction, it's a chance to show respect, regardless of status, wealth, or appearance. Applause rippled through the room. Marcus waited until the last clap faded. To those who acted with kindness, thank you. To those who hesitated, you now have the chance to do better. Let's make every visit to Meridian Trust a testament to human dignity. He stepped back as Gregory and the managers rose to their feet, applauding. Staff from the Oakwood branch, beaming with pride, joined in. Clients offered warm smiles and waves. Outside the building, the morning light glimmered on the clean windows, and a gentle breeze rustled the newly planted trees. Weeks later, an article appeared in a national banking magazine under the headline, Unannounced CEO Visits Sparks Culture Revolution at Meridian Trust. Banks across the country took note, sending delegations to Oakwood, Maple Grove, and downtown branches, hoping to replicate the humane approach that Marcus championed. Back at his desk, Marcus read the article and closed his laptop. He leaned back, the city skyline stretching before him. He whispered to himself, respect doesn't cost a thing, but it's priceless to those who receive it. He stood, walked to the window, and watched the world bustle below. People rushing to appointments, children boarding school buses, strangers holding doors for one another. In that tapestry of small gestures, he saw the ripple of a simple truth, that real power isn't wielded, it's shared quietly every day. And in that shared respect, the world grew a little kinder, one interaction at a time.